Great. Welcome to grammar. Okay, this is my favorite thing. This video might be slightly long. Please stay and hang in for it because it will be immensely helpful on your worksheet. And I'll be partially going through it. I'm going to go partially through the explanation page that I gave you all. And then I'm also going to be doing some demos on my whiteboard. So, conjunctions and compound situations. You can have a conjunction of almost anything. You can have it of a noun, the boy and the girl walked to school, two subject nouns. You can have two verbs, the children walked and ran to school. You can have three adverbs, and oh my goodness, those are going to get fun. The children move slowly, quietly, and carefully, or anything else as long as the things are alike. So you can't join two things that aren't similar. So you can't say like walk and table because that's a verb and a noun. You can't do like a conjunction that's a verb and a noun. You can do a conjunction of two nouns and two verbs, but you can't do like a noun and a verb conjunction. It doesn't work. Okay, so the conjunctions are called the fanboys. Fanboys. These are also very useful in writing. What I mean by fanboys is this. F-A-N-B. Can you see this? Yeah. Oh, my A looks weird. I'm sorry. O-Y. S. Fanboys, also known as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. These are all of our conjunction words, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. It also rhymes a little, which is helpful, or you can just remember fanboys. They are fans of conjunctions. So, that's helpful. So those are going to be our most common conjunction words. Sorry, I got to erase this because I need my whiteboard for more stuff. These are going to be the most common ones. So compound things. A compound thing in a sentence is when there are two or more of something, because you can have three. When a sentence has more than one subject, it's a compound subject. If it has more than more than one verb, it's a compound verb, and so on and so forth. Compound direct object, compound indirect object. Boy, howdy, are those fun. Compound adverb, compound adjective. There's a lot of options here. So let's start with just a compound subject. Let's say the sentence, I'm going to do a slightly different one than what the example is there. Let's say, going off of history, Elias and John signed the paper. They didn't technically, but we're going to pretend they did. Okay. Now, let me find a darker color that will be good for... Oh, I wonder if orange will show up. Can you see orange on here if I do it? Oh, yes. Okay. So, with orange, let's mark these. Okay, so clearly this is a compound subject noun. So, what you're going to do, ignore the paper for a second. Listen to me. C-S-N. Compound subject noun. That's a little hard to see. Well, okay, you can see it. Compound subject noun. The and is going to be C-J because it's conjunction. Or you can just do a C. I'll allow just a C. And then this is our other compound subject noun, CSN. And then, of course, our verb. Boop, boop. The article, Elias and John signed what? Paper. Direct object. Okay, now let's diagram this. Okay, now normally we would have our line and we would have this. However, because it's a compound, you might be thinking, well, can't you just write Elias and John right here where the subject would be and then just like stick the and next to the verb or something? No, you can't. Let me show you. What you're going to do is you make a rocket ship. Like so. And then this line is going to boop right there. Our verb will go here. Signed. Just like that. Now, on the two little parts of our rocket ship here, we're going to put them in order. The top will be the first name. Bottom will be the second. 1, 2. And then we're going to do a dotted line going down like this. And I'll explain what that's for in a second. So our first name was Elias. So Elias goes here. John goes here. And then, right here, we write whatever word the conjunction was. In this case, it was and. So on here we write and that is where it goes, which it doesn't look like an and when you look at it like that, but that, I promise that says and. And then we have a direct object, so our line goes across like that. Boop, not going through. Paper, and then what word is modifying paper? The. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. That's for subjects. So for the subject, instead of it just being the line like that, and then, you know, our direct object over here with the modifier, it is a rocket ship where there is two. I seriously love compounds, guys. They're so much fun. Okay, now we're going to try doing a verb now. Verbs are very fun. Verbs are super fun. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do basically the same sentence. We're just going to remove one of our compound subject nouns and instead add a second verb. What I mean by that is we're going to say Elias wrote and signed the paper. Okay, what is my subject noun? Elias, because he is doing the action of writing. Maybe this will be darker. So, subject noun. Oh, that's better. Okay, then, Elias does two things here. He doesn't just write the paper, and he doesn't just sign the paper. He writes and signs the paper. So it will be CV, conjunction verb, and then we have C, or you can write CJ. It might be simpler if you just write C, which is, this is our compound, or conjunction, that's our compound. And then compound verb. Elias wrote and signed what? Paper. Direct object. Which paper? The paper. Article. Okay. Diagram time. Now, again, this will be slightly different. We have one subject. Subject always goes on the left. So this is the easy part. Elias. Elias wrote and signed it. He technically didn't, but you know, we'll say he did. Now, just like we did with the noun, we will now do with the verb. Because we can't just write them both next to each other, because where would the word and go? Instead, we draw our rocket ship. And the first one goes on top, second one goes on bottom. Remember, 1, 2. So, first one was wrote. So he wrote it, and then he also signed it. And then, don't forget, doop, 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 our dotted line, and the word and right there. I made it a little more obvious this time. Now, we have a problem because there's a direct object after this. And we can't just like do this and that. That doesn't make any sense. So, for a compound verb where there's a direct object after it, we get a special shape. It's called the prism. Ooh, you know, like a gemstone? And then we have our line here, and we write paper. And the, just like that. It's a little angled. I'm sorry about that. Here, let me fix that because it looks a little weird right now. Give me a second. I'll fix this. Hold up. I will make this better. I promise. And there we go. Hopefully, there we go. That looks a lot better. Okay. So we create a diamond or a prism for that. Now, hopefully you see kind of how this is working where it's always going to be that split like that. Now, let's do a compound direct object just to like fully go through here. So we'll keep this the exact same. Wrote the paper and the letter. Okay, so Elias wrote the paper and the letter. So Elias wrote what? Paper. Compound direct object. Elias wrote what? Letter. Compound direct object. And conjunction, the article, the article. Hopefully that's pretty clear. Okay. Hopefully you're starting to get the hang of this because it's pretty repetitive. It seems frightening because, you know, your diagram's splitting up, but it's so cool. Okay, so subject always on the left. Subject in this case, Elias. Verb on the right. What is our verb? Wrote. Now, just like with the other two, we can't write it on the same line. So we are going to split the line, boop, boop, and do our rocket ship. Rocket ship. Lift off. That doesn't look, that didn't work. It's supposed to look like fluff when a rocket ship is taking off. Sideways, apparently. That just looks like I gave it wings. That didn't work either. Okay. Well, you know what I mean. It's the rocket ship taking off. Whatever. Okay, so we have this. Remember, first one goes on top, second one goes on bottom. You don't have to write 1 and 2. I'm just writing that to be helpful. So first, he wrote the paper, apparently. And then second, he wrote a letter, apparently. Now, we do our ... and we do and. However, there's one thing about this that is different. We have these two words modifying paper and letter. So, here's how you do this. The paper, the letter, like that, because it's each individually modifying. Now, let's just make this a little more complicated just to help you. Let's say he wrote the paper and the long letter. So, article there. What kind of letter? Long letter. Adjective. Now, letter has something that is modifying letter, but not paper. So, paper is just the paper. This is not only the letter, it's the long letter. So, if you get where I'm going with this, you have 2 under it. Long letter. Like that. This way. There we go. Okay. Does this make sense? Hopefully it does. All right. I'm going to cover one more thing in here. There's a lot of ways to do conjunctions. I'm going to do multiple videos on conjunctions. This is going to be covering just subject, verb, direct object, and then 3. Let's say we have 3 things. In this case, we'll do 3 direct objects. So we'll erase, redo. This is our last one. Okay. He wrote the paper, and I'll throw an adjective in here too, just to make things fun. Okay, he wrote the paper, comma, the letter, comma, because Oxford comma is important. This is called the Oxford comma. And the interesting book. We'll say he wrote an interesting book. Okay, so labeling these. We have compound direct object. He wrote the paper. He wrote the letter. Compound direct object. And he wrote the book. Compound direct object. 3 compounds. What kind of letter? The letter. Article, adjective. And conjunction. The article, adjective. What kind of book? Interesting book. Adjective. Okay. Diagramming this. Oh, guys, this is my favorite kind of diagramming. Diagramming 3. Okay, so really quick. We'll put in our basics and then we'll do the 3 because this is so fun. All right, subject on the left, as per always. Elias. Verb on the right, as per always. Wrote. Now, we can't just do 1 and 2 rocket ship because we have 3 things. So what do? We don't do a rocket ship. We don't do a prism. Instead, we do the fork. 1, 2, 3. The fork. Now, quick thing about the fork. Or it looks kind of like a pitchfork. Quick thing about the pitchfork. 1 will go on top, 2 in the center, and 3 on the bottom. Notice, the word and does not show up in between all of these. So we will not have and going all the way across. We will have our dotted line. Well, that's not dotted. We will have our line. I'm going to erase the 1, 2, 3 for a second. We will have our dotted line going down. However, the word and only appears between letter and book, which are the 2 last things. Which mean and, if this is 1, 2, and 3, and will go between 2 and 3, right there. Not right here. Now, our first thing mentioned was paper. So paper goes up here. Our second thing mentioned was letter, so letter goes right here. And our third thing mentioned was book, so book goes right here. However, each of these also has a word modifying it. The paper, the letter, and the, not only the book, but it's the interesting book. I gotta turn this sideways. I can't do this. Okay, hold on. Like that. And that is how you diagram a triple. It's a fork. Okay, so just a reminder, 3 ways to diagram. There's the rocket ship for like a compound noun where there's only 2 compounds. Oh, you can't see that. I'm sorry. There's the rocket ship for like the compound noun where there's 2 nouns, or the compound direct object where there's 2 direct objects. Also the compound verb if there's no direct object. There is the prism, which is for if there's a compound verb with a direct object. Wow, I keep drawing these really weird. I'm sorry. This is hard from an angle. Okay. That's for 2 verbs and there's a direct object after it. And then there is the fork for if there is a compound that includes 3 things from it. And if you want to, you can do that so that it's not as weird looking of a fork. Okay, so those are the 3 compounds I'm going to cover right now. So those will be the only 3. Hold on, wait, before I say this, I'm going to double check it. Let's double check our facts, shall we? Okay. Subject. Oh, I should talk about that one. Okay. Okay, those will be the main 3 that show up. Also, if you notice this in your worksheet, this is your worksheet, your actual worksheet, it says on here, C notes A, C notes B2, C notes C, D, E, okay? So it tells you which notes your thing is based on, which means that it's telling you what your diagram is going to look like. So if you look at B number 2, it's when you have a compound verb with a compound direct object. So the compound direct object goes next to the verb like that, instead of it being a prism like this. So look at those carefully. It tells you exactly what you need to be looking for. So the only ones that'll be covered, I'm only going to send you the paper of compounds that has the ones that end up on there, because there's also another type of compound that will be next week. So I'm not going to send you that because I don't want to confuse you, but I'll send it with you next week when we go into exercise number 2. If you have questions about this, please, please, please call me or text me, or have your parents do so. Or honestly, if you need it, I can do a live YouTube video if that will help people, if there's enough people with questions. I'll send out something about a live YouTube video. Or you can have me face chat with you or video call or whatever, so that you can understand it a bit more. But I just want to make sure that we're not getting confused on this, because this is my favorite concept, but there's a lot of there's a lot of modifications on it, because you can do compound subjects, verbs, direct objects, indirect objects, adjectives, adverbs. There's a lot of options. You can do compound linking verbs. There's a lot. Compound predicate nominatives, compound predicate adjectives. You could do a ton of things here. So I don't want to overwhelm you with these. They are my favorite. They're super, super fun. Hopefully you think they are too. But if you do need any help, please, please, please have your parents get in contact with me, because I don't want you sitting there confused and saying, I don't know how to do this. She never explained it. I'm going to fail. No, you're not. Just calm down, breathe, and ask for help. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful day. I miss you all very much, and enjoy compounds.